I want to start today's exploration by having you just picture a highly relatable scenario. You wake up.
Yeah, that classic morning moment.
Right, exactly. The room is still profoundly dark. There's just like the faintest hint of pale morning light bleeding through the edges of the blinds.
You're barely even conscious yet.
Barely. Before your eyes are even fully open, before your feet have even touched the cold floorboards, that internal machinery just begins its relentless whirring.
Oh, the mental noise. It just starts immediately.
It really does. So you roll out of the exact same side of the bed you always do, and instantly the sensation arrives.
The knot.
Yes, that familiar, heavy, suffocating knot tightening right in the pit of your stomach.
It's anxiety. It's about the mounting obligations of the day or, the relentless weight of financial survival.
Exactly. Or cyclical frustrations in relationships that seem like permanently stuck in neutral. So you walk to the bathroom.
On total autopilot.
Total autopilot. You grab your toothbrush with the exact same grip you have used for just an endless sequence of mornings.
The same grip, the same angle, yeah.
You step into the shower. You perform the exact same physical motions in the exact same sequence.
It's a completely rehearsed script.
Right. And you are supposedly stepping into the dawn of a completely new cycle. Right. A fresh day representing untouched potential.
But you're not really.
No, you're already locked into the exact same routine. You are radiating the exact same internal frequency you went to sleep with. You are essentially a biological machine.
Yeah, we are witnessing the ultimate relatable reality loop here. I mean, this is a phenomenon that defines an overwhelming majority of human existence.
It really does. It's universal.
The script you are describing, it's been written, memorized, and rehearsed a vast constellation of times.
A vast constellation, yeah. It's so deeply ingrained.
People navigate the complexities of their physical environment, driven by this silent, invisible engine. And the crazy part is, they don't even realize it's commanding the entire trajectory of their lives.
We just think we're making choices.
Right, that's the tragedy of the illusion of control. We perceive ourselves as these conscious agents making spontaneous decisions.
When in reality, we aren't at all.
No, we are acting out a deeply ingrained emotional baseline. We're just responding to external triggers with a rehearsed chemical cocktail of stress and anticipation.
So that morning routine is merely the physical manifestation of a psychological prison.
Exactly, a prison we don't even see the bars of.
Which brings us to the core confusion, right? This is the universal human challenge that forms the whole mission of our discussion today.
It's why people are so frustrated.
The friction is excruciating because you desperately want to change your circumstances. You want to shatter this repetitive loop.
You try so hard.
You exert a massive magnitude of effort to alter the trajectory. You might force yourself to recite positive statements and you're, repeating hollow words of affirmation into a mirror.
Vision boards. Staring at pictures of cars and houses.
Yes, curating visual representations of your goals, hoping something internally clicks and just magically alters your external world.
But it doesn't.
It doesn't. You try with an immense intensity to force a change in your physical reality, yet you remain entirely trapped in the same repetitive struggles.
The bank account looks exactly the same.
The emotional exhaustion feels the same. So here's the framing question for you, for the listener. If we possess such a powerful, innate desire to elevate our lives, why does it feel like there is this invisible rubber band constantly snapping us back to our old baselines?
It's a great question. Because willpower feels like it should work.
Right. Why is the application of sheer willpower so remarkably ineffective at generating lasting change?
Well, the profound frustration stems from a fundamental misunderstanding of the mechanics of reality generation.
A misunderstanding. How so?
We are taught to view the external world as a solid, unyielding structure, right? Something that must be physically dismantled and rebuilt through forceful effort.
Like pushing a boulder up a hill.
Exactly. But you cannot wrestle your circumstances into submission. Reality is not shaped by applying physical friction to external objects.
Got about the friction.
Not at all. It is shaped entirely by the internal arrangement of the mind. The transition we need to navigate involves shifting our entire paradigm.
Shifting away from what?
From battling the external projections to mastering the internal frequency that actively generates them.
Wow. Okay, so battling projections.
Think about it like a mirror. When you attempt to change the reflection in a mirror by manipulating the glass, you accomplish nothing but exhausting yourself.
You just leave smudges on the glass.
Right. You must change the object casting the reflection.
Okay, shifting the paradigm from battling reality to actually generating it. That requires a total reevaluation of how we view the universe.
A complete ground-up rebuild of our understanding.
So to understand why willpower fails, we have to grasp this concept of the illusion of creation.
Yes, the illusion of creation is foundational here.
The premise is that nothing in our physical experience is actually newly created, right?
Nothing at all.
The universe exists as an endless wave of infinite potential. Every conceivable circumstance, whether it is profound generational wealth, absolute physical vitality, or incredibly harmonious relationships, it all already exists.
As a dormant possibility.
Right, within this vast ocean of potential. They are not distant structures you have to painstakingly build from raw materials.
Creation is entirely finished. That is the key.
Creation is finished. So these varying circumstances are simply brought into physical experience by the conscious arrangement of the observer's mind.
They are collapsed from a wave of potential into a solid particle of reality.
It's a monumental shift in perception.
It really is. I mean, if you view your desires as things you must invent out of nothingness, the journey feels impossibly steep.
It feels exhausting, like you have to invent fire every day.
Right. But understanding that the version of your life characterized by total freedom and abundance already exists as a latent frequency, that fundamentally changes the geometry of your ambition.
So you are no longer an inventor trying to fabricate a new reality.
No, you are a receiver. You are trying to tune your internal dial to a frequency that is already broadcasting.
Okay, but the challenge lies in the architecture of the mind that is attempting to do the tuning.
Yes, because there is a staggering, overwhelming imbalance in our daily awareness.
A profound duality, right, between the conscious and subconscious faculties. Let's examine the mechanics of that imbalance.
Let's do it.
So, the conscious mind, the part of human awareness that is actively processing my words right now, the part that formulates the desire for wealth or health, it represents a mere solitary spark.
Just a spark out of a massive fire.
Exactly. It's highly selective. It's deeply personal. It serves as the navigational compass choosing the destination.
It points the ship.
But despite its ability to choose, it functions merely as the realm of effect. It's the superficial layer of the ocean just getting tossed around by the weather.
That's a perfect way to describe it, because beneath that superficial layer lies the subconscious mind.
The endless tide.
An unfathomable tide that commands the overwhelming majority of our biological and psychological functioning.
It's the repository of habitual programming.
Yes, and unlike the selective conscious mind, the subconscious is entirely non-selective. It is totally impersonal.
It doesn't judge.
It does not possess the capacity for moral judgment or logical filtering. It operates as the ultimate, indisputable realm of cause.
So the conscious mind suggests a direction, but the immense silent power of the subconscious mind is the engine actually propelling the vessel.
That engine is what's moving you every single day.
And this dynamic illuminates exactly why that automated morning routine we talked about is so incredibly difficult to break.
Why you keep grabbing the toothbrush the same way.
Exactly. We bathe with the same physical cadence. We navigate the same familiar routes to our destinations. We engage with individuals who activate the exact same historical emotional triggers.
The lion's share of our daily physical and emotional reality is governed by this silent programming.
We are essentially sleepwalking through our waking hours. We believe we are making spontaneous choices.
But we aren't. We're really playing out a heavily rehearsed sequence of emotional reactions.
Walking through the physical world, reacting to the same stimuli with the same internal chemistry, day after day, passage of eras after passage of eras.
Continually reinforcing the neural architecture of our own limitations.
It's kind of terrifying when you think about it.
Well, the biological efficiency of this system is actually quite remarkable. You have to remember, the brain is an organ designed to conserve energy.
Right, it doesn't want to work harder than it has to.
Conscious thought, the act of evaluating novel information and making unprecedented choices, requires a massive expenditure of metabolic resources.
It's exhausting to think deeply all the time.
Exactly. So, to prevent exhaustion, the mind offloads repeated behaviors, emotional responses, and environmental assessments to the subconscious.
It automates them.
Once a pattern of reaction is established, the subconscious automates it. The problem arises because the subconscious does not differentiate between a pattern that serves your ultimate growth and a pattern that perpetuates your suffering.
It just executes the code.
It simply executes the program.
Okay, wait, I need to interrupt this progression because a glaring contradiction is emerging for me here.
Okay, let's hear it.
If the conscious mind possesses the ability to choose, if it is the faculty that recognizes the suffering and establishes the clear goal to forge a new life, why does the massive subconscious apparatus refuse to follow those explicit orders?
Ah, the core frustration.
Right. If the subconscious is the engine and I consciously feed it the destination, why do our spoken intentions fall so incredibly flat?
It's a great point.
If I tell myself repeatedly that I desire abundance, why does the subconscious seemingly ignore my commands and continue to drive me toward lack? Are we suggesting the subconscious is inherently adversarial? Is it fighting us?
No, not at all. The subconscious is not adversarial. It is entirely mechanical.
Mechanical.
The failure of our spoken intentions stems from a profound linguistic barrier. The subconscious mind does not comprehend the language of spoken words.
It doesn't hear the English language or any language.
No. It is
Yeah.
completely devoid of logical processing in the way the conscious mind understands it. It is entirely unconcerned with objective, physical truth or the verbal commands you desperately shout at it.
So yelling affirmations into the mirror?
It does nothing if the language isn't right. It blindly and faithfully accepts whatever instructions are presented to it.
Yeah.
But it only receives those instructions when they are transmitted in its native, fundamental language.
And what is that native language? The critical bridge of communication between the conscious desire and the subconscious mechanism is feeling.
Feeling, yes.
Words absent the corresponding internal sensation are merely empty acoustic noise to the subconscious.
Completely devoid of meaning. I mean, the subconscious does not verify your tax documents.
It doesn't care about the numbers.
It does not evaluate the current balance of your bank accounts. It does not analyze your physical environment to determine what is factually true.
That's wild to think about.
It possesses a singular function: to faithfully accept as absolute, undeniable truth whatever you deeply feel to be true.
Feeling is the only medium of exchange it recognizes,
The absolute only one.
which provides a terrifyingly clear explanation for the paradox of empty words. This is the exact mechanism behind the failure of superficial positive thinking.
The people standing in front of the mirror.
Exactly. An individual can stand before a mirror, diligently reciting phrases declaring their wealth, success, and vitality.
I am rich, I am successful.
Right. While simultaneously carrying a deep, dense, heavy internal sensation of being completely broken, deeply anxious, and fundamentally unworthy.
The mismatch is huge.
The conscious mind is broadcasting this fragile little signal of prosperity using words, but the internal state is radiating a massive, undeniable frequency of despair.
And in that scenario, the subconscious completely bypasses the superficial verbal broadcast. It doesn't even register the words.
It just feels the heavy weight.
It receives the intense, heavy frequency of brokenness. And because it is an obedient, impersonal machine, a flawless multiplier of the reigning internal state, it accepts brokenness as the undeniable truth of your existence.
So it says, okay, brokenness is the reality. Let's make more of that.
Obediently, it initiates the process of generating more physical evidence to match that broken state.
Wow.
It orchestrates circumstances that result in unexpected financial burdens. It heightens anxiety. It maneuvers you into situations that perfectly confirm and validate your internalized feeling of lacking.
It is executing its function with absolute perfection.
Flawless perfection.
So the subconscious is brutally literal. You are not failing to manifest reality. You are succeeding with terrifying precision at manifesting exactly what you feel.
You are always succeeding at manifesting your feelings. Always.
There is a natural principle that perfectly illustrates this mechanism, the squeezed fruit principle.
Ah, yes, the peach.
Right. If you take a piece of fruit, like a peach, and apply immense external pressure to it, you just squeeze it with absolute force.
You crush it.
The only substance that can possibly yield is the essence of that specific fruit. You cannot subject a peach to pressure and expect citrus to pour out.
It's physically impossible.
You can only extract what is genuinely stored within its structure.
And the application of this natural principle to human consciousness is profound. Because the external pressures of the physical world, a sudden financial crisis, a severe interpersonal conflict, some chaotic disruption in your daily environment, they do not create your internal state.
They merely reveal it.
Yes, when the inevitable pressures of life squeeze us, whatever is genuinely stored inside our subconscious reservoir spills over into our reality.
So if your internal reservoir is filled with anxiety and a profound sense of lack, a minor external inconvenience will cause anxiety and lack to spill out everywhere.
You get a flat tire and the world is ending.
Right. We continuously leak our true internal states into our environment. Let us ground this in a highly relatable human interaction.
Sure.
We have all experienced the dynamic of approaching an individual who is clearly vibrating with distress.
Oh, yeah. You can feel it from across the room.
You observe their rigid posture, the tension in their jaw, the defensive crossing of their arms.
They're closed off.
You ask them what is wrong, and they force this fragile smile and verbally insist that everything is completely fine, I'm fine.
Nothing's wrong.
Exactly. Their conscious words are transmitting a message of total peace. Yet you, as the external observer, feel an intense, undeniable weight radiating from their presence.
It's suffocating.
You do not believe their spoken words for a single fraction of a moment because their energetic baseline is screaming a completely contradictory truth.
And our subconscious operates with the exact same intuitive discernment.
It completely ignores the polite, hopeful words we speak to it.
It strictly and exclusively responds to the heavy, authentic, energetic baseline we carry.
That parallel highlights the inescapable nature of our internal frequency. You just cannot deceive the mechanism.
You can't fake it.
Your internal dialogue, the silent stream of deeply held assumptions you carry about your own worth and the nature of the world, is constantly projecting outward.
The physical reality surrounding you acts as an impartial screen. It relentlessly reflects your true inner state back to your own observation.
The external world is merely an echo chamber of your internal assumptions.
An echo chamber, exactly.
But wait, I need to apply some serious friction to this concept right here.
Bridge back.
If we establish that reality is exclusively a mirror of our internal baseline, how does this framework address individuals trapped in incredibly severe systemic external hardships?
That's a very heavy question.
It is. Are we suggesting that someone enduring literal, crushing poverty or someone trapped in an undeniably abusive environment is simply experiencing those horrors because they have a flawed internal baseline?
Right, that sounds like victim blaming.
It does. It risks drifting into a dangerous territory of toxic positivity, where we blame individuals for systemic pressures that are vastly beyond their immediate control. How do we reconcile the crushing weight of external objective reality with this internal generative mechanism?
That is a crucial distinction that we absolutely must heavily scrutinize. The framework does not suggest that a child born into severe systemic poverty chose or generated that initial environment.
Okay, so the starting point isn't necessarily their manifestation.
Right. We are born into an incredibly complex, pre-existing web of collective human frequencies and physical structures. The external pressures are intensely real and undeniably brutal.
The reality of those hardships is valid.
Completely valid. The mechanism we are discussing does not deny the existence or the severity of the initial external circumstance. What the mechanism governs is your capacity to alter the trajectory from that starting point.
The trajectory.
Yes. If an individual in a brutal environment internalizes that brutality, if their emotional baseline becomes entirely consumed by the feeling of powerlessness and victimhood, their subconscious accepts powerlessness as their absolute truth and perpetuates the cycle.
The environment squeezed them, and they absorb the essence of the squeeze.
Exactly. The radical, incredibly difficult proposition here is that altering the physical circumstance requires generating an internal frequency of freedom and capability while still physically surrounded by the evidence of lack.
Which is an immense challenge.
Immense. But the subconscious does not judge the fairness of your starting line. It only reads the frequency you are currently emitting to chart the next coordinate. It is a mechanical reality, devoid of moral judgment.
So the mechanism is not an excuse to ignore systemic issues, but rather the internal tool required to transcend them.
It's the only way out.
The ultimate tragedy is allowing the brutal external circumstance to permanently dictate your internal frequency, thereby guaranteeing the continuation of the circumstance.
Because if feeling is the exclusive bridge, and the subconscious only responds to the internal sensation, we need to dissect the mechanics of how people attempt to change.
Right. Where is the fundamental flaw in how the overwhelming majority of humanity approaches their desires?
The fundamental flaw lies in the geometric positioning of the mind in relation to the desire.
Geometric positioning. What do you mean by that?
It is the profound, subtle, yet absolute distinction between thinking of a desire and thinking from a desire.
Thinking of versus thinking from.
That subtle shift in prepositions dictates the entire outcome of the manifestation process.
Let us examine the anatomy of this error. What exactly transpires internally when we engage in the common practice of thinking of a desire?
Well, when you think of a desire, You are positioning the object of your ambition at a vast distance from your current identity.
It's over there and I am over here.
Exactly. You visualize the outcome, the cleared debts, the revitalized physical health, the ideal companion, but you observe it as a separate entity.
You establish a definitive coordinate for yourself in the present moment and a separate, distant coordinate for the desire in the future.
You are intentionally constructing a gap.
A gap.
You are engineering the exact architecture of lacking. Because when you think of an outcome, the foundational internal dialogue is characterized by reaching, hoping, and striving.
I wish I could attain that state. I am working tirelessly to reach that destination.
Right. And that mental posture inherently encodes the sensation of separation. It broadcasts a powerful, undeniable frequency of not currently possessing the desire.
And since we have firmly established that the subconscious is a flawless multiplier of the reigning feeling,
It takes that feeling of separation and runs with it.
if your dominant feeling is the longing for something you do not have, the subconscious meticulously replicates that exact state.
It actively generates a physical reality where you are constantly presented with situations that reinforce your feeling of longing.
It provides you with a continuous stream of experiences that mirror your separation from your goal.
It creates a perfectly sealed, inescapable loop of lack,
You are trapped in the perpetual state of almost arriving.
constantly reinforcing your identity as the seeker rather than the possessor.
The seeker, never the finder.
Exactly. So the paradigm shift, the complete inversion of this mechanism, is the practice of occupying the state. This is the definition of thinking from the desire.
Thinking from. This implies a complete collapse of the constructed gap.
It requires mentally relocating your sense of self. You abandon the position of the observer, looking at the desire from a distance, and you entirely occupy the reality where the desire is already a finished fact.
You move your internal vantage point.
Yes, the internal dialogue undergoes a radical transformation. It shifts away from the frantic reaching energy of, I hope to resolve this burden someday, and settles into the quiet, profound relief of knowing the burden is entirely permanently resolved.
The physiological contrast between those two mental states is staggering.
It's night and day.
The sensation of thinking of a desire is akin to standing outside a magnificent, warmly lit home in the dead of a freezing winter night.
Oh, that's a brilliant image.
You press your face against the frozen glass. You're shivering, observing the firelight inside, desperately wishing you could escape the cold and enter that sanctuary.
But you're stuck outside.
You are intensely aware of the biting wind. You are consumed by the feeling of being outside. That is the essence of thinking of.
A state defined entirely by the cold and the separation.
Conversely, thinking from the desire is the experience of sitting quietly in an armchair beside that roaring fireplace, deep within the sanctuary of the home.
You're already inside.
You are completely relaxed, enveloped in warmth, enveloped in total security. You are no longer wishing for the warmth because you are entirely occupying it.
The frantic, painful longing is completely extinguished by the presence of the experience.
It's just gone.
And the mechanics of this shift, they actually parallel foundational principles observed in the study of subatomic behavior.
Like quantum mechanics.
Basically, yes. There is an established phenomenon regarding how the mere act of observation fundamentally alters the nature of reality.
Right, the observer effect.
Before an observation is made, a system exists in a state of infinite superposition, an endless wave of potential outcomes. It could be anything.
It's fluid.
But it is only when a definitive measurement is taken, when a conscious observer interacts with the system, that the infinite waves collapses into a singular, solid particle of experience.
So when you observe your reality from the inside, when you mentally step into the stillness of the end result and occupy that specific state, you are performing that ultimate act of measurement.
You are forcing the universe to choose a coordinate.
By feeling the relief of the finished state, you collapse the wave of wanting into the particle of having.
The frantic, scattered energy of wanting just ceases. And in that exact internal stillness, that undeniable feeling of finality and completion, the subconscious receives the definitive measurement.
It registers the signal. We are secure. We have arrived. The state is fulfilled.
And because it cannot contradict your reigning feeling, it immediately mobilizes to reorganize physical reality to reflect that established security.
It accepts the feeling of the end result as the indisputable present truth.
Yes.
This philosophical pivot fundamentally alters the human experience. It transitions the journey from a brutal, exhausting external grind into a practice of profound internal resting.
Which sounds so peaceful, right?
It does. However, the requirement to maintain that internal rest presents an entirely new, incredibly demanding challenge.
It's not easy.
No, it implies that we must exercise hypervigilance over the constant stream of our internal dialogue. We are required to police our own awareness continuously.
The maintenance of that internal state demands intense vigilance.
Yeah.
And that leads us to the vital concept of the economics of consciousness.
The economics of consciousness. I love this concept.
We must rigorously analyze how we are transacting our mental energy on a daily basis.
Let us delve deeply. Well, let us really unpack the mechanics of this internal economy. Human consciousness, our focused attention, and our emotional bandwidth are framed as the absolute most valuable resources in existence.
More valuable than money.
This transcends material wealth or physical assets. Every single fraction of a moment throughout our waking lives, our internal energy is actively being transacted.
We operate as an independent economy of one.
Within any economic system, resources can generally be utilized in two distinct ways. They can be spent or they can be invested.
Spending versus investing.
And the profound tragedy of the human condition is that an overwhelming proportion of the population is trapped in a relentless, exhausting cycle of continuously spending their consciousness, entirely depleting their reserves.
They are completely bankrupt energetically.
So how do we precisely define the act of spending consciousness in this context?
Well, spending is the reckless squandering of mental and emotional energy without any expectation of a positive return.
Like buying something you throw away immediately.
Exactly. It is the act of laying out your most precious resource for absolutely nothing. When you dedicate hours to agonizing over catastrophic worst-case scenarios that haven't even occurred.
Just sitting there worrying.
When you react with intense emotional volatility to every negative external stimulus, or when you engage in bitter comparisons with the achievements of others,
Doom scrolling, basically.
or when you allow that heavy knot of anxiety to completely consume your focus over challenges that remain in the distant future, you are executing massive, unrecoverable expenditures of your vital energy.
And the tragic irony is the nature of the return on that expenditure. It is analogous to aggressively buying shares in your own misery.
That's exactly what it is.
You spend your precious, finite attention on the frequency of worry, and the subconscious, operating as that flawless multiplier, pays you robust dividends by generating more physical circumstances for you to worry about.
You are financing your own suffering.
It is a transaction yielding negative profit.
A terrible investment. Contrast this destructive cycle with the deliberate practice of investing consciousness.
Okay, investing.
Investing requires laying out your mental energy with the explicit, conscious purpose of compounding growth.
Deliberate placement.
Yes, you are deliberately placing your attention and emotional bandwidth into a state that will inevitably yield a positive, expansive return.
So translating this investment strategy into practical daily application, what are the actual mechanics? How do we do it?
The practical application involves generating the feeling of immense, overwhelming gratitude before any physical evidence of the desired outcome has materialized.
Gratitude first, evidence later.
Exactly. It requires conducting your internal, silent conversations from a vantage point of absolute success and capability.
Thinking from the end.
It is the active decision to allow yourself to rest in the profound feeling of the fulfilled wish. You choose to mentally occupy that warm, secure room by the fireplace, entirely regardless of the chaotic storms raging in your external environment.
The profound beauty of this internal economic system is its absolute accessibility. It functions as the ultimate equalizer of human experience.
It doesn't cost a dime.
It requires absolutely zero external capital. You do not need a single fraction of material wealth to begin investing your consciousness.
Anyone can do it, anywhere.
The transaction costs absolutely nothing in the physical realm, yet it serves as the most powerful mechanism for fundamentally transforming physical reality.
The system is entirely democratic. Every human being receives the exact same daily allotment of conscious moments.
The individual commanding vast global empires and the individual struggling against severe daily hardship possess the exact same opportunity in any given moment to either squander or invest their conscious awareness.
And the divergence in their realities is often a reflection of how those internal transactions are managed over the passage of eras,
However, we must address the intense friction of applying this in the modern reality.
because it's hard.
It's incredibly hard. The environment we inhabit is practically engineered to relentlessly extract and monetize our attention.
Our phones, the news, everything.
We are subjected to a continuous, aggressive barrage of external stimuli designed to trigger fear, outrage, and constant comparison. The architecture of our society frequently pulls our energetic resources toward the impulsive spending of consciousness.
It's a trap.
So how does an individual successfully interrupt that deeply ingrained, externally heavily reinforced loop? How do we catch ourselves in the act of spending and forcibly redirect that energy into a deliberate investment?
Mastering that redirection is the absolute crux of the entire practice.
The core skill.
It requires adopting the posture of an objective auditor over your own mental processes.
An auditor. Okay.
You must begin treating your mind like a closely monitored, highly sensitive portfolio. You must cultivate the ability to become the silent, detached observer of your own automated reactions.
Watching yourself react.
Yes. When you perceive that familiar knot of anxiety beginning to form, or when you catch your internal dialogue spiraling into a rehearsed narrative of complaint and victimization.
That precise moment of recognition is the critical juncture.
That's the pivot point.
You have to cultivate the profound ability to step outside the immediate experience of the emotion. You must step outside the fishbowl and objectively observe yourself swimming within it.
Precisely. In that moment of detached observation, you acknowledge the transaction. You say to yourself, I am actively spending my consciousness right now. I am squandering my vital energy on a frequency that produces nothing but further lack and distress.
Just calling it out.
The mere act of catching yourself, of breaking the hypnotic trance of the automated reaction, is a massive victory.
It stops the momentum.
Once you have observed the spending, you exercise your conscious agency to deliberately redirect the frequency. You forcefully shift the internal narrative away from the spiral and return your focus toward an invested state.
You re-anchor yourself in the feeling of the fulfilled wish.
Yes.
Instead of allowing the anxiety to dictate the entire trajectory of the day, you execute a pause. You take a breath and you internally declare, no, I am choosing to halt this expenditure. I am consciously choosing to invest my energy right now.
I am choosing to embody the sensation of being settled.
I am choosing to generate the feeling of security. Even if you can only maintain that invested frequency for a few fleeting moments before the external pressure intrudes again.
Those fleeting moments of investment are highly significant.
They add up.
Over a sustained period, those invested seconds compound exponentially, fundamentally altering the dominant frequency of your subconscious.
But to truly comprehend why the human organism defaults so aggressively towards spending energy on anxiety, we must trace the architecture of our reactions back to their ultimate origin.
We have to look at where this all started.
We have to examine the construction of the foundational human blueprint.
The deep programming.
This leads us into the deep structural programming of the psyche. The origins of our most restrictive limitations, the reason our default neurological setting is overwhelmingly biased toward lack, fear, and survival. They were permanently installed during the earliest, most vulnerable moments of our existence.
When we were just kids.
Right. In the distant past of our early development, before the dawn of our rational filtering consciousness, our minds operated as pure, unfiltered receivers.
Sponges.
We absorbed the emotional frequencies and behavioral patterns of our surrounding environment with absolute, uncritical acceptance.
We didn't know any better.
The vast, overwhelming constellation of repetitive thoughts we experience today, the persistent whispers of self-doubt, the deep-seated conviction of inherent unworthiness, the visceral terror regarding financial scarcity, they are rarely our own original conscious creations.
They are ours.
They are largely the automated echoes of an ancient conditioned script. They are the rehearsed programming of the individuals who raised us, combined with the dominant frequencies of the environment we inhabited during our most formative stage.
We inherited it all.
We did not consciously choose these limitations. We inherited their fears. We absorbed their flawed relationship with reality and seamlessly integrated it into our own operating system.
And we internalized those inherited limitations as our foundational identity. We assumed the rehearsed script was simply the unalterable nature of our personality.
We accepted the programming as our inevitable fate. That's just who I am.
Exactly. I'm just an anxious person.
There is an incredibly powerful, vivid analogy used to reframe how we must address this historical programming. It is the principle of the snake bite.
Oh, I love the snakebite analogy. It is a profoundly effective framework for understanding the mechanics of trauma and historical conditioning.
So imagine you are walking through a dense forest and you are suddenly bitten by a highly venomous snake.
Out of nowhere.
The immediate, chaotic, emotional impulse might be to react with intense anger. You might attempt to chase the snake through the underbrush, demanding to know the specific reason it attacked you.
Why me?
Right. You might expend massive energy trying to prove to the universe that you were walking peacefully and did not deserve to be bitten.
But expanding energy, chasing the snake through the woods, is a fatal, completely counterproductive waste of time.
It guarantees your destruction.
Absolutely.
The initial bite, the original childhood trauma, the historical injustice you suffered, the deeply ingrained limiting belief you absorbed, that initial event does not destroy you.
The bite is already in the past.
The event itself is a finite occurrence located entirely in the past. What ultimately destroys the organism is allowing the venom injected during that event to continuously, relentlessly course through your system.
The venom is what kills you.
The venom represents the rehearsed toxic thoughts. It's the constant obsessive revisiting of the historical pain, the cemented identity of victimhood.
The continuous daily spending of your vital consciousness on the undeniable fact that you were once bitten.
Let us apply this to a tangible, everyday scenario. The snake bite might be the experience of being unjustly passed over for a massive professional opportunity or experiencing a deep personal betrayal.
A real painful event.
Chasing the snake is spending the next enormous passage of eras complaining about that betrayal every single night.
Replaying it over and over.
You are voluntarily, continuously pumping the venom of that past event through your own present system, poisoning your current potential.
The broader implication for mental conditioning is absolute. You cannot squander your finite vital energy chasing the historical root cause of your pain.
Leave the snake alone.
You must direct all available resources toward neutralizing the venom that is currently active within your neurological system. You must forcefully prevent the rehearsed toxic thought patterns from governing the reality of your present day.
And the absolute beacon of hope within this framework, the incredible physiological reality that makes transformation possible, is the profound malleability of the human mind.
The brain can change.
We're not permanently doomed to endlessly execute our historical programming. We are not forced to endure the venom forever.
No, we are operating at the precise intersection of profound philosophical wisdom and established neurological mechanics here. The brain is not a static, unyielding structure.
It's plastic.
It is continuously reorganizing itself. By consciously and repeatedly holding the internal frequency of the life we desire, by rigorously practicing the art of thinking from the end result, we physically force the creation of entirely new neural architecture.
We physically change our brains.
The actual physical structure of our brain fundamentally alters its connectivity in response to sustained internal feeling.
The mechanics of this are incredible. Every single time we successfully observe an old self-sabotaging thought, every time we catch ourselves automatically spending our energy on the frequency of lack, and we consciously discard it.
Choosing instead to invest in the feeling of abundance.
Yes. When we do that, we achieve a massive structural victory. We are literally laying down the physical foundations of a new pathway within the brain, while simultaneously starving the old destructive pathway of the electrical impulses it requires to survive.
And the biological rule is absolute. Pathways that are starved of attention begin to degrade.
Use it or lose it.
Exactly. As you consistently deny your focus to those old venomous routes, the physical connections weaken, and they eventually prune away entirely. They simply vanish from your operational blueprint.
They just fade out.
The less vital energy you grant to your historical identity, the less capable it becomes of influencing your reality.
This realization reframes the entirety of human existence. It strips away the perception of life as a brutal, unpredictable, exhausting battle against an indifferent external fate.
You aren't a victim of fate.
It transforms the human experience into a completely winnable, highly strategic game of absolute internal mastery. You are seated firmly at the controls of the generative mechanism.
You are driving. And the culmination of this mastery relies entirely on cementing the foundational concept of your identity.
Yeah.
It all hinges on your internal definition of I am.
I am, two very powerful words.
The words you speak, both internally and externally, are merely the acoustic image of the mind's genuine state. Whatever concept, whatever feeling you consistently place after your fundamental sense of self dictates the parameters of your physical reality.
So if I say, I am tired,
If you continually claim, reinforcing the feeling internally, I am endlessly struggling, I am fundamentally broken, I am inherently unlovable, you are delivering absolute binding instructions to the subconscious mechanism to continuously build and reinforce exactly those conditions,
you are actively feeding the venom.
ensuring it continues to circulate.
Conversely, if you deliberately alter that internal identity, if you boldly claim and physically feel the state of your ultimate desire as your undeniable present reality,
You fundamentally rewire the entire blueprint of your existence. You master the internal frequency, and the external mirror must inevitably shift to reflect the new image.
it has no choice but to reflect it.
None at all.
Let us synthesize this entire journey, drawing the vast concepts we have explored into a cohesive realization. We initiated this exploration by examining that deeply relatable, profoundly exhausting reality loop.
Waking up in the dark.
Operating entirely on autopilot, trapped in the exact same emotional cycle, experiencing the intense frustration of an invisible rubber band snapping us back to our baseline, regardless of how intensely we try to force external circumstances to change.
And the revelation was that the massive exertion of effort was being applied to the entirely wrong variable.
We were fighting the mirror.
Right. We transitioned to comprehending the stark duality of our own minds. We recognized that the conscious mind is merely a solitary spark capable of selecting a destination.
Well, the subconscious mind operates as the endless impersonal tide that actually generates the physical experience of reality.
Realizing that the subconscious is entirely deaf to our logical arguments and spoken commands, we identified feeling as the absolute, vital bridge of communication.
We understood the futility of empty words. We must genuinely embody the energetic baseline of our desires. We learned that we must cease the exhausting attempt to squeeze citrus essence from a peach,
Which propelled us toward the most critical geometric shift in our mental posture,
transitioning away from thinking of our desires.
a practice that mathematically guarantees the continuous generation of longing, separation, and lack.
Moving to the profound practice of thinking from our desires. We learn to mentally occupy the coordinate where the outcome is already a finished fact, allowing ourselves to rest completely in the warmth and security of the internal house.
Safe from the cold.
We analyze the continuous internal economics of our consciousness, recognizing with absolute clarity that every moment spent indulging in worry is a catastrophic expenditure of our vital energy.
While every moment dedicated to assuming the feeling of gratitude and completion is compounding investment.
Finally, we grasp the physiological reality that we possess the power to rewrite the ancient venomous programming of our historical environment by consciously forging new pathways and boldly claiming a completely new foundational identity.
The ultimate purpose of mastering this internal frequency extends far beyond the mere acquisition of physical objects.
It's not just about getting stuff.
No, this practice is not fundamentally about manifesting a specific vehicle, manipulating a bank balance, or altering a temporary circumstance. It is about a profound awakening.
Waking up.
It is about fundamentally remembering our true nature. We are not victims of an indifferent universe. We are universal architects.
Inherently capable of observing the endless wave of potential and deliberately collapsing it into a profound, chosen physical reality.
It is the process of waking up to the staggering power that has remained dormant, quietly waiting inside us throughout our entire existence.
And as we conclude this exploration, I want to leave you with a final, intensely provocative thought. A concept to deeply mull over as you step away from this discussion and back into the flow of your daily environment.
Something to really sit with.
We have established through mechanics and observation that our deeply held internal state continuously collapses universal waves of potential into physical reality.
Our individual internal frequency actively builds the immediate world around us.
So we must ask, what happens to the massive, complex web of the collective human experience when just one single individual fundamentally, permanently shifts their baseline frequency from the desperate panic of survival to the unshakable frequency of absolute abundance?
What a question.
Does our quiet, unseen internal rewiring silently begin to alter the fundamental fabric of everything and everyone we interact with?
A ripple effect.
If you successfully change the reigning frequency of your own internal world, do you inevitably and undeniably begin to change the external world itself?
I believe you do.
Keep the magnitude of that possibility firmly in your mind the next time you wake up in the dark and prepare to roll out of bed.